are joined by Christina Adams, the author of A Real Boy. This is a huge moment for me because I had not met you before today, but this book, A Real Boy, was so pivotal in my child's journey that I'm going to get verklempt. And I don't want to prevent that from our viewers knowing about your book and knowing about your story. So tell us a little bit about how A Real Boy happened and what it's about.
Thank you. I am very glad to be here today, and I'm always happy to meet somebody that my son's journey has benefited. I appreciate that.
In huge ways. We'll have to talk later.
Well, tell them. Yeah. How did A Real Boy happen? Well, I was already a professional writer. I had, you know, the child that I'd been looking forward to. I was in graduate school getting a master's degree in writing. I thought everything was fine, but, you know, the typical bad signals were coming from preschool and things like that. So everybody said, oh, he's fine, he's just a boy, you know, all this typical stuff you hear. And then finally, a preschool aide said, I think he's autistic. So I went home that afternoon, called my husband at the time, and talked to some people that had actually known and were going to tell us, but just hadn't gotten around to doing it yet. So at the same time then, even though I was devastated, it came to me, I will do anything. If I have to drive to Los Angeles every day, if I have to live in a special place with him, I don't know what this world is all about, but I'll do anything. So I had pretty much dropped the novel I'd been writing and just started writing about autism, because first I said, I will do other things. My whole life will not become autism. Well, you know, it's about 6 months and it was pretty much over with. So I wrote a first article for the Los Angeles Times opinion section. Because I felt like at the local regional center and school districts weren't really telling parents what was going on, and that had a nice little wave effect of correcting services at the time. Then I went on to write more articles, but then I also started a memoir, and it was just about telling the story of his recovering at that time, which I hoped he was going to do. And also, my goal was to tell the whole story. Yeah. I didn't want, you know, the husband to be the shadowy figure in the background, the mother focusing on one particular slice of, you know, intervention versus another slice of intervention. I wanted the whole story. So I felt like that was my goal. I wrote it to be very honest, and I wrote it as he was enjoying all his interventions, and I feel like it gave a pretty good picture of what that world is going to be like. But I also tried to incorporate what is autism. Yeah. I met older people. I discussed all the things that happen to you during the journey as well as to your child. Yeah. And I feel like I accomplished that because of the feedback that we've gotten, and I'm really grateful to have had the opportunity to publish the book. Well,
I got to say, as a parent, you know, at that period, because my son was diagnosed about 6 years and 2 weeks ago, and in that moment in time, I didn't know where to look, I didn't know where to go, and I met another autism mom who put your book in my hands.
Oh, wonderful.
And she said, this is the book you need to... She gave me 2 books, and the other one was much more of a textbook about ABA, but she said, here's the book you need to know, and she talked about the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, and I went home and I lived and breathed and died by your book while we waited to get services started, and I, you know, I would say to my husband, okay, I'm at this point in the story, and he'd say, I can't wait to read it, and he would say, let me read it while, and I would go, no, I'm embroiled in it, I can't wait to see what happens. It was beautifully written.
Thank you.
So as a book, as a read, it's really wonderful. But for me to know where we were going and what we were taking on and who we were going to meet, and of course the cast of characters was entirely different, even though we were still at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, it prepared me in a way that I don't know that anything else could have. And so whenever after that somebody would say, we're diagnosed, and I would say, okay, you're going to call card, here's the book. And I did. I lent the book out to somebody. I had to go buy another book. That book got lent to somebody too, and the first person that had given me the book, when I was done with it, I said, I'm bringing the book back. She said, oh, no, it won't stay in your hands long, pass it on.
Wonderful.
So I was saying to people this morning, go buy 2 copies, one for you and one because you're going to have to give the other one away very soon.
That is amazing, because the publisher told well, I guess I should say Barnes & Noble told the publisher, the book's going to be in paperback, it's going to be at this price point because people are going to buy 2 and 3 of them, keep one and give them away. So
yes.
The wisdom of publishing.
And you will want to give this book away, but you're going to want to keep one too. And it really, and you know, I think what's miraculous about it, honestly, is that you wrote it was very personal. It was, and we all know our journeys are different, right?
Right.
Our kids are different, our journeys are different, and I completely got that through the book, that your journey was your journey. It was not going to be the same as mine, but it was very put in such a way that I felt like I could eavesdrop on your life and learn and grow from it, and that when my child did things that were different, it wasn't like I was comparing, you know, apples to oranges, but it prepared me emotionally for some of the battles that I was going to undertake.
Yes, there are some in there.
And that as a mom, that I needed to step up and be the advocate and dig my heels in and say, this is what's going to happen, here's what I'm going to do, and here's what I'm not going to do. But I really, I did. When I say I lived and breathed and died by it, I absolutely did. It was my entire, it was, and it took me a while to get through it because I had my hands full with a child.
Absolutely.
You know, I would have loved to have sat and read it in one afternoon, but that, I don't think emotionally that was possible for me. But it got me through the period of time from when we, you know, first called CARD and got registered so that we were going to start ABA therapy. It got me through that period of time.
Fantastic. And I am a great supporter of CARD, Center for Autism and Related Disorders. Doreen Grandpichet is a top authority. I have enjoyed excellent staff over the years, and I guess if you can have a bridge to get yourself to an organization such as CARD while you are handling all the other types of intervention that you'll want to do under a doctor's supervision at the same time, then that's the way to do it. And whatever your bridge is, if it's a book that helps you, if it's support groups, which I totally suggest, whatever your bridge is, you probably need a few bridges, and you're probably going to need to laying them out along the way. So that's very important for, I think, people to know.
So tell us about your son now. How old is he now?
Well, the book ended when he was around 5, and he had passed a kindergarten readiness test undetected, and so now, believe it or not, he is 14 years old.
Isn't that amazing?
So we are in the whole, got the mustache-y thing going on.
Oh, and, my goodness.
You know, Mom, don't touch me in public. It's so cool.
I'm getting a little bit of that at 8 and a half.
Yeah, and skateboarding,
cool,
you know, and all these independence things, and friends coming over and knocking at the door and stuff like that. And it's those things that you work for so hard. And when you get them, you always hoped you would get them. But when you do get them, it feels like the heavens have lifted. But there are still always difficult moments with children that have had an autism diagnosis, whether they still have it or whether they don't still have it. I believe that, you know, enormous patches and enormous levels of recovery are possible and probable if you do the right approach and the right work, depending on the child's capability. But even if they're not, there's still wonderful things to discover about your human being with autism. I love people with autism. They are fascinating, wonderful. They're all different from each other. And I've enjoyed the company of many, including adults who just now are realizing that, oh, I'm a spectrum person.
Right.
And so that's been quite a wonderful part of writing this book and meeting people over the world and learning about the different diagnostic pictures of things.
Awesome. And so in terms of, if you were talking to parents who were in the first stages, earlier this morning our topic was if you just were diagnosed, what would be like your top 3 things to suggest for parents newly on it? I would say read this book.
Well,
that's what I would say.
Thank you. It's been out for a few years, but I feel that everything is still valid in it. So I do appreciate that. I guess one of the first things to tell them is life is not over. It is going to look different. It's a family diagnosis. It's not just for your child. It's going to affect the whole family. It has ripples into the community. So approach it as a family system-wide problem. That's hard to do because a lot of people are in denial at the beginning. Hold your course, stay fast, do what you need to do. Eventually, you will get to the point where you will possibly say, it took me a long time to do this, to be your own best friend and say, you know, I would tell my friend she should take a break or she should start to think that her life has value again. Or something outside of just serving her child with autism. Took me a few years to get to that point, but I took that point. And I have had now a wonderful new life, which my son has benefited tremendously from.
Well, we should mention, you know, your book was published, and then shortly after that, you divorced. divorced.
This is correct.
And you know that's a situation that a lot of people find themselves in.
Right.
It isn't everybody's story, but we know statistically the numbers tend to be high if there is a child on the spectrum for a divorce, but your story has a happy ending, yes?
My story does have a happy ending. It was a long fought battle to get to that happy ending, because after the book came out, everything was great. I was touring the country, wonderful meeting people, and my son was happy signing books here and there. But then there had been some difficulties in my marriage, which are in the book, and well, blaming the other party for autism is not necessarily that productive, but I even moved past that. But there was a separation. There were a lot of legal battles, unfortunately, because his father was an attorney. That, unfortunately, ended up taking years. And as of recently, I now have full legal custody, so I can make all the decisions that are beneficial for my son. But during the midway point of that awful, tough single mom journey with legal things going off around my head, I met the most wonderful man. He knew nothing about autism, which I always tell him, well, you only have your own self to blame, because I tried to tell you about it. I even took him to a conference.
Oh, how funny.
So at any rate, he's a wonderful man. He's wonderful doesn't describe him. He's great. He's totally great stepfather. My son now has 3 stepsisters.
Awesome.
And everything's been really wonderful for everyone.
Are the stepsisters older or younger?
They're all older, and they all fight just like typical siblings, and it's been very great for him as an only child. Learn not to dominate the conversation, and to learn to have to give and take and share a little more. So it's been really good.
They've always said to me for play dates for my son, you know, have a bossy girl on a play date with him, because it's the best possible thing. So 3 older sisters, how lucky is he?
It's been really good. It hasn't all been smooth, but it's been great.
I'm sure. Well, I am so happy for you and your newfound happiness.
Thank you.
I am so grateful for your book, and I'm so grateful that we've had an opportunity to meet and talk, and for me to be able to share with other people this awesome book. It's A Real Boy. You can get it on Amazon. I encourage you to buy more than 1 copy, because you are going to want to give it away, and you're going to want it. I don't have one at the moment as a reference, which bums me out, so I have to get another one. But so get that book. We're going to take a break, but again, thank you so much. And we will talk more.